Well, good evening, everyone. How are you? My voice is a tad bit different. I have been dealing with hay fever all day, and so I don't even know what kind of tone it has any longer from all the sneezing and the roughness. But it's a pleasure being here with you this evening. And I also have designed this evening's little segment a tad bit differently. And the reason for that is because I just wanted to peruse a few different elements all at once. Now, in the background, we have one of my kittens. She's decided that it's time now for her to eat for the third or fourth time. And I'm thinking to myself, girl, you sure know how to make an entrance. But anyway, maybe in the future I'll introduce you to her. She's very opinionated. Anyway, as I said before, good evening, good evening. I'm glad you stopped by and ventured into an area that may or may not be your cup of tea. I've been listening and watching some of my colleagues and decided I would prepare this type of meal for you this evening. A few of my friends are traveling and I wanted to include them as well. So I would like for you to leave me a note by your clicks and let me know whether or not this was a particular, let's say, podcast that was of your interest or to your interests. Now, in the descriptions, I have some links, and the links are to the various individual topics that I was perusing through. And the first one being Mother Gaia and her evolving and increasing frequency, and how does that impact us? Now, it depends on who you're listening to. There are a few people out there that have a lot to say about what's going on right now. And then there are others who are saying, I can't do anything about it, so why even pay attention to it? And then there's another thought, which is basically in the direction I'm in. Well, we're here on planet Earth. All right, this is Mother Gaia's deal. If she's in school and she has to graduate and she's going to do what she needs to do in order to get to that level, then that means that whether you, me, and anyone else is prepared or not, we're going to be traveling on that route as well. So it would behoove us, in my opinion, to at least have some understanding of what is going on. Now, there are so many different people out there that have so many different levels and views on that I decided I'd take a couple that I like, you could say, but only one at a time. So this evening I decided to take Dr. Samuel B. Lee, and he's on YouTube. And I think that his delivery is pretty good. I really like his delivery. I like the content of what it is that he's talking about. And he's not ABC elementary at all, but he can break it down like that for you. So I like that about him. So in the description, you'll see that I have a link to what it is that I'm talking about as he was talking about Mother Gaia. Now, am I going to go into detail about that right now? No, I'm not. I just surfacely went across the top of what it is that he was talking about, but the depth of what he's saying, that's his division and his department. The next person that I was looking at, and I was going through this because I also click on LinkedIn at times as well, and I post there. So you are getting a combination of the two flows, okay? So I went into the creative side, the music side of myself, and I came across a young guy by the name of Jacob Collier. And he reminds me of a younger Danny Kaye. I don't know if you remember Danny Kaye, and I think that's Kaye. I'm not sure. But anyway, Danny Kaye was really, really good. But he had a propensity from time to time of creating different shows and segments that incorporated an orchestra. And I don't think he was really that versed in all those instruments, or maybe he was. But he was very good at bringing the audience into and involved in what it was that he was doing with the orchestra and his music. And that's what I found Jacob Collier to be doing as well. So I enjoyed his segment. That also, the link is definitely in the description. For all of these things that I'm talking about, I have the link there for you. So, and they're all on YouTube so that you can go back and take a look at it yourself. Maybe there are segments there that you would normally not even look at or maybe it's something there that you might find interesting. So, another topic that I find very interesting at this time, and that is young people. So, I'm thinking to myself, Mother Gaia is going through some changes. That means that the frequency levels are going to be high. Young people are usually impacted by frequency levels that are high. So, we're going to make believe like we don't see that as the adults, or are we going to attempt to see if we can find a solution or a way of helping them to balance? Are they teaching them how to breathe? Things like this. And that's real simple, basic, and it doesn't involve any money. Or show them how to just spend a moment by themselves, come down from wherever it is that they're at. I don't know. So sometimes I think that the younger people, at least the older ones, might miss some of the stuff that is happening around us. All right. They might miss it because of their distractions. And is this a time in which everybody needs to be distracted? I don't know. Some people feel that, well, what can you do about it? That's a good point. But is it best not to know what to do, or is it best to not be aware of what's going on? I don't know. That all depends on who you are and what level of development are you in. At least that's what I think. But the one that really took me for a serious laugh and yet was profound, and this was a piece that I don't really remember what this lady's name is. She posted this educator who had a month to say whatever it was that he wanted to say. Yeah. And he has this great poem that he recited called Great Poems with Clarity and Truth. All right. And this is before the first bell rings. And I understood what he was talking about because I played that role once upon a time as well, teaching a class. But my classes were video, so that was usually an easy class, so to speak, except for the discipline part. All right. And that's the segment that he is referring to. But this guy, he was on the shorts, and I really, really liked what he was saying and doing. So I wonder if I can really get back there and find him so I can let you know exactly what his name is and what he was all about. Hmm. And as usual, I'm not going to be able to get back there as quickly as I thought I would. So we might just gonna have to leave that alone for a minute. And then there's some other things that are happening with Stephen Burns. He's the geophysicist, and he's talking about the different solar storms and stuff. And a lot of people are not interested in that, but that just happens to be one of the things that I'm interested in. And I felt that, well, you don't have to be. Maybe you could be exposed to some of it. So we, as they would say, so moving right along. The next thing that I would like to do is just share with you my other thoughts. But before I leave there, let me say this. When that young man who was a principal, and I have the clicks, I have the YouTube shorts. All right, I have that link is in the description, and it's actually underneath the caption where I talk about the educator. Okay. So I definitely would like you to see that because he's excellent. His poem is excellent. It was so succinct, so on time, so targeted. It was really good. And the young lady that posted that should also get credit for that. I believe her last name was Perry. All right, let me see in my notes if I can find her quickly. uh, hmm. And as I said a few minutes ago, the voice is not having a good evening, but we are going to work with it and then we're going to stop. Her name is Kimberly A. Parker. That is her name. And the segment that she uploaded was, it does not have a name per se. She just calls it a great poem. I think. But anyway, as I said before, she gets credit, and the link is right there in front of you. Definitely look at it, because if you're a parent, you know what he's talking about. If you are a teacher, you know what he's talking about. If you are let me say, or the other child, the older child of the youngest child who's attending school, but you're carrying the responsibility of the parents, then you know what he's talking about. So that's one other thing I'd like for you to look at. Then I had fun with some young folks today too. There's something that I think that might have caught their attention. But here's what I wanted to bring forward, and this is actually something I'm really interested in. And that is, so how do you get people to sit still long enough to understand that they can tap into their own energy field and produce information and answers for themselves? Sometimes people think that that's an impossibility. Or maybe you might have an article that you need to write. You can tap into your own energy field if you can keep yourself quiet for a few minutes, let's say. So when I say a few minutes, I mean about 30, okay? So what I wanted to share with you was a post that I came across with Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy, you need to look him up if you don't know who he is. Anyway, in 1986, he also presented this whole concept about being, let me see, involved with sitting still and listening to the still voice within. Isn't that what everybody's talking about at this time? So this is information that is actually returning to the forefront, and we're really we really need to pay attention to this at this time, because there are those that want us to believe that we don't have the power, we don't have the strength, we don't have the ability. When in actuality, that's not true. We have a lot of power within ourselves, but we're sort of being guided against that. And creativity, and creativity. The young man that I very briefly mentioned earlier, he has a beautiful, beautiful quality in terms of explaining and sharing music, and I thought that he was somebody that really should have a larger audience. And as I said before, his name is Jacob Collier. Very, very interesting. So when you have a moment, just look at that as well. There were so many things that I just found to be really, really fascinating. But Brian Tracy's piece and the 30 to 60 minutes, sit still, don't open your mouth, be quiet, and just be free for a minute. Take your shoes off so you can ground. Just be free for a minute so that you'll be able to hear your inner voice speak with you. And I don't mean to the point where you need to go and get somebody to get some white jackets and bring you somewhere. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about really being creative, like how artists see a picture inside their mind before they actually start painting. As you can hear, my voice is definitely going, 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 and almost gone. So I'm going to end this at this particular time. But I wanted to bring a couple of other things to play. There's this one segment on the shorts, and I have a link for that too, and it's talking about silver and the impact that silver has had going all the way back to ancient Egypt and coming all the way forward, and the reasons why silver has disappeared from that whole medical industry when it was being so profoundly used and caused a lot of transitions, not even transitions, healings. Silver was very important during that ancient time period to heal on a level that was totally different. Now, healing, I don't know what kind of healing, I wasn't there, all right? But what I will say is this, just the information was interesting, just interesting. Now, as far as Josh Johnson is concerned, I laughed so hard today listening to a lot of his comments. That's not the real word I'm looking for, but anyway. So, but the one that I actually put in the link, and that is in the description below, and that is the one that he talks about where we removed our humanity. And if you remove the humanity from around different scenarios, then it's also easy to go in another direction. I thought that was amazing the way he was able to bring all of that together and put it on the table and say, hey, listen to this. So, what I'm saying to you is this: the things that I'm talking about here, those are just things that I like and I'm involved with one way or another, reading, looking at videos, or just in a smaller group having conversations about. But I thought maybe it would be something that you would be interested in, maybe, possibly. Because the main focus, as I shared so many times, is for me, are the young people that are in the third grade, fourth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. In particular, that's the first group. Then the second group is the high school segment. And the reason for that is because I always wondered why the fourth and the seventh grade students were getting left back. Then I figured it out. It's like, oh, I see. Do you know why? Do you have any children in that grade? Are you paying attention? All right. It's real clear once you stop to think about it. And the same thing on the high school level. Ninth grade is a little challenge. 11th grade and 12th grade, yeah, that could be difficult unless you have some kind of support. And that's all that I'm saying. Let's support them. And the only way to support them is number one, teach them how to speak. And when I say teach them how to speak, not only to speak the so called English, but how to deliver themselves. How do they make a statement to somebody in authority? And not necessarily be on par, but be pretty good to the point where they show that they have a value and they know that they have a value without being arrogant and obnoxious and a narcissist. But have a beautiful, beautiful way of communicating their strengths if they're going into the workforce, or even if they're entrepreneurs. They still have to be able to communicate. Here we go back to the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grades and high school. Hmm. We can't afford to lose anybody on this journey. Everybody's not here to do the same thing. Everybody came into this particular dimension with a specific thing that they are responsible for. And that individual has to find out, well, who am I? What am I responsible for? And you have to remove the distractions. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to take the 30 to 60 seconds or 60 minutes rather and go within yourself to find out, well, who are you? Because there's another short that they had on there, and I can't remember that gentleman's name, and I know his face. But anyway, and he was talking about when you're inside your mother's nice little stomach there, and you're listening to all the conversations that she's having during your days of that warmth and that protection. And when you're born, also looking and listening to the different things that are happening around you. You're like a sponge. You're soaking everything up. You're being quiet. And so he was actually able to identify that as the theta phase, so that you're able to really learn because your conscious and your subconscious are not fighting for all of the attention that they're going to fight for in a little while, as soon as you get a little bit older. But you see, then that's also the reason why when children who are teenagers have challenges at 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, is because something happened. And it happened at 3, 4, 5 years old. I might have been 6, 7, 8 years old. So between 1 and 8, well, really, 1 and 7, and for some late bloomers, maybe 9, but not too much over that. But so let's go 1 to 9. From 1 to 9, they're actually just a sponge. You're just absorbing everything, trying to understand this element, this place that they're in. Who are these people? And what does that mean to me? And what it is I have to do. That's important. because it's going to show itself in a little while. And if that experience was traumatic, damaging, as in most places, dysfunctional, as they like to equate with only one group of people, no, it goes across the board. So why is it happening like that? That's all the things that we need to really understand. But guess what? You're going to have to chew gum and walk at the same time. You're going to have to grab that sandwich and run down the street while we're moving forward, because Mother Gaia gave you enough time to get it all together. Not that we've gotten it all together, because we're all on different levels, but we should have learned something. And that all depends on where you are, who you are, and what opportunities were presented to you. So at this stage of the game, I think we all should just take a deep breath and say, I got this. Whatever that means to you in your element, whatever that means to you in your environment, you got this. Just remember who you are and the greatness that you possess. And begin right where you are right now. Just start from there and start moving forward, because you got something and it's important. And since I really got to stop speaking now, I like to say to you, remember to create the reality that you truly do desire. Think about that. Watch your words. Know that your thoughts become things. Your words become things. Okay? Pay attention to what you're focusing on, what you are focusing on, and make sure to create the reality that you truly do desire and not one that you don't. In my mind's eye, I can hear a song right now that I really think people should listen to at least once in a while. It's a Curtis Mayfield. And what is that song? Do you know the name of that song? It's one where he's, not the making of you, it's the other one. There's one that really talks about his experience in life. It happened, he created that song, let's say, towards the end of his life. I'm going to have to get back to you on that, because I actually had that song and I don't know where I put it. But anyhow, I'll get back to you with that. But that song is so beautiful. It really, really, you can feel the hurt that he had, especially after the amount of accomplishments he had over the years. And I'll tell you something. I think I relate to Curtis Mayfield because when he was injured, I was around. I was at that concert. I was involved with the people that were involved with the creation of that. But I was just a peon like everybody else. I was just one of the photographers. But my reason for mentioning that was because everybody was devastated, and that storm came out of nowhere. And nobody believed that it had impacted him like that. It was really bad. But the thing about it is, I wish that he could have had more love in his life while he was going through all of that pain. And you hear it in this last album that he created before he transitioned. Time to create our own realities now. Our truth. Time to create your truth. Who are you? Let's get it together. Have a good evening. My name is NJ Evans, and this is the evening drive home. Ciao, and thank you for stopping by.